And I'm laughing because I was thinking, wow, she really came to me as a woman, and y'all about to think about Barbara and Shirley. It was the modern day Barbara and Shirley, and I was like, this is not fun. This is not cute. It ain't funny. I don't want songs about this. They already exist. This is not my real life. But it was. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of I Wish I Could Make This Up. Y'all are in for a treat today because today is the day. It's a very special day, and it's the one a lot of y'all have been waiting for. I'm gonna tell y'all exactly why I left my marriage. I think in episode 3 with Ken, I kind of touched on, obviously there was infidelity, but I didn't really give you like the rundown, the play-by-play, like at what point did I feel like, oh nah, shawty gotta go. So today is that day. I'm gonna tell y'all everything. I'm not gonna give you all the details, but I'm gonna give you what you've been looking for because it's a story. I have some questions that I put here. We're back with the phone. I know, I have to say this though. Shout out to my cousins because I have these really cute question cards, but I feel like they're better for guest episodes. So for me, y'all just gonna have to see my phone and I have my questions here. But I'm gonna get into it. I have some questions here. And the first one being, was there a defining moment that made me realize I needed to get divorced? And y'all know, if you have ever made a really big decision, there's always that defining moment, like that one where you're like, yeah, now's the time to make a decision. And so leading up to those moments, usually there are smaller moments where you're kind of like, I'm not sure. So I had those other moments, but that big moment, I'll never forget, y'all. It was a Monday. And I was coming out of a really beautiful weekend. I have to admit, it was a beautiful weekend. In hindsight, you know, knowing what I know now, it wasn't, but like I was celebrating something with family, whatever, it was fun. But that Monday, it started out as a very normal day. I was working from home and my ex, my husband at the time, he was at work. And I just remember like, it didn't feel like a weird day. I woke up, I started working, I made myself breakfast, whatever. I remember we lived in an apartment, and so the shower was not, like it just wasn't working in the main bathroom. So I was like, okay, need to call maintenance, whatever. Nothing crazy. They come in, they fix it, cool. When they left though, like, you know, I'm the type, set the mood, set the tone. I'm working from home. So I had the blinds open, get some natural light, whatever. Maintenance left. And when I came back, you know, from locking the door, I remember I turned around and I saw something on the floor. I said, I don't know what that is. Let me go over there and see. Y'all, I looked, it was his Apple Watch. Now let me give y'all context. He had gotten a new phone and a new watch. So he had taken the old phone. He was going to like switch over, you know, some stuff, whatever. But he had left his old watch at home. Everything was still working fine, whatever. He just upgraded. So that watch was on the floor, and we had this like a table, this like long, it was cute, a table behind the couch type of thing, but it had fallen off because it was charging. So I picked it up to put it back on the charger. But y'all, it felt like, I swear it felt like, I don't know if it was That's So Raven when like if she touched something and then she would see it have a vision because it had something to do with whatever. When I picked up that watch, it was like something in my gut said, look in that watch. Look in that watch, y'all. So I looked in the watch and, you know, I just was like, at that point, we had already gone through some things to the point where like he had changed his phone password or whatever. Okay, cool. But he didn't change that watch password. So I went in the watch. And when I looked in the text messages, all I'll say is I saw something that let me know he had cheated on me. And not just, you know, text messages or like words or whatever. So put 2 and 2 together. He cheated on me. So when I saw what I saw on the phone, I was just like, okay, this is the last straw. I gotta go. I didn't know when I would make that move, but I knew right then and there, I'm like, I will no longer be a part of this relationship. It is what it is. while I did feel sad, I knew it was a defining moment because my decision was so quickly made in that moment versus like the emotions attached to it. And I think the saddest part was we hadn't been married that long, but I knew for sure, without a doubt, like I have to leave this relationship. So it was like 10 in the morning. So imagine like the rest of my workday was just it wasn't good. Well, I would say this, it was productive because my mind was made. I was able to work through the day. But I just remember thinking like, how is this my life now? And how do I move forward? The only thing I knew in that moment was like, the first thing I have to do is clearly address this with him because he needs to know that I'm going to be stepping away from this. So with that, and this is me moving away from the questions because I wanted to obviously answer that, but I need to let y'all know like how we even got to the defining moment, because you're probably wondering like, okay, that happened, but like, did you just dip off of one thing? Absolutely not. Some of y'all might not remember, so go back if you don't. Go back to episode 3. I do remember mentioning Facebook being a thing and just like seeing messages because I was logged into his Facebook account on my work phone. Mind you, he logged into it, not me. So like, let's be clear here. I was not just snooping around. He had logged into it for another reason. So let's go back. I'm gonna take you on a little journey. Let's take a trip. When we were engaged, and this really too feeds into my icebreaker. I should start doing icebreakers for my own episodes because this I can't make up. I wish I could though. I cannot believe I continued a relationship knowing I had already been cheated on. It does sound crazy. And I think unless you're in a situation like that, you know, you just wouldn't understand. So I'm sure some of y'all can relate, but I couldn't believe I was doing it. But also it was like, so invested. So I kind of can. But either way, we'll go back to when we were engaged. And I just remember, again, the days always start off so normal. But this day, I got to work. Mind you, I had got a new job. I felt like I was just progressing. Like all the things in life were aligning. I was growing in my career. Everything seemed right. And I'm at work. I receive an Instagram DM, but because my page is public and I didn't know this person, we didn't follow each other, it went to my requests. So I'm new at this job, y'all. I think I had been there for 3 weeks, and I happened to open my phone, waiting on my boss to get there, and I see a message request on Instagram. So of course I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna answer or open it and look. Yeah, I thought it was spam. I thought it was spam because I, one, didn't know the individual, but also it was just this long message. So initially I'm looking like, who is this and what are they talking about? But as I'm reading the message, this person was letting me know. She said a lot without saying names or anything. But what she did let me know is she was like, this person I'm telling you about is your fiance. And I'm laughing because I was thinking, wow, she really came to me as a woman, and y'all about to think about Barbara and Shirley. It was the modern day Barbara and Shirley. And I was like, this is not fun. This is not cute. It ain't funny. I don't want songs about this. They already exist. This is not my real life. But it was. I was like, I'm not about to reply to this girl. What I look like. So I read the message and I blocked her. But before I blocked her, I screenshotted the message and I sent it to my fiance because I'm like, what is this girl talking about? Y'all, when I said I sent that message and my phone rang immediately, y'all know how it goes. You know that gut-wrenching feeling. I was like, oh God, everything she said is true. It's got to be true, because why are you calling me at 8 in the morning to explain something? So right then and there, that's the very beginning of like, okay. And I got to tell y'all, I think we're a few months out from the wedding. So at that point we had sent save the dates, invitations, everything. Like the people that were coming, they knew it was happening. So I'm sitting there like, my soul just left my body and I got to do something about it. Like, I don't even know where to start. From there, we talked I think the only person I contacted about this matter was my therapist, because one thing about me, y'all, I'm very calculated, I guess you could say. I try to move with intent, and I don't like to make hasty decisions. Like, that never serves anyone well. So I knew I had to talk to someone, but I'm like, let's be wise. Like, let's not just talk to anyone. We have to talk to somebody that's, one, going to be unbiased, even though low-key she's my therapist, so she's still biased. But let's talk to a therapist. They're trained for this. So I text her. I was like, literally SOS, I need to talk to you. And so it was a very long day. And I remember thinking, like, I don't have to make a decision right now, but we got to figure something out. Because, like, the wedding is in a few months. So fast forward, I decided to go through with it because I felt like up until that point, there was nothing that would make me think this relationship can't work. And again, I know y'all probably like, girl, after that should have told you. Hindsight is 2020, y'all. So in the moment, I felt like, well, we could surely work through this. Like, we could get past it. But, I had faith. So I said, let's go through with it. Let's continue. I have my individual counseling. We had our marriage counseling, our premarital. So we get married. To this day, that day, it's a blur. And I think weddings can be a blur anyway, just because it's a busy day. But, like, from a traumatic standpoint, it was just it's a blur. Like, when I think about that day, I have very little recollection of the day itself. What I do remember, though, is how I felt. And I'm thinking, if I have a wedding day again in the future, and I really hope I do, it has to feel the complete opposite, because that is not how you should feel on your wedding day. The way I felt, it was emotional, obviously, but I should have felt more excited, because you're going to be nervous. Again, so here's the thing, y'all. I don't like attention. I don't like all eyes on me. So that was already one thing working against me. But knowing what I knew, and I'm still walking into this day, it doesn't even feel like myself, because that's just not who I thought. I didn't think I would be in this type of situation. So we go through the wedding, get that over with, everything. Go on the honeymoon. It was great. It was fun. We had fun. It was emotional, but we did have a good time. I will genuinely say the honeymoon was fun. But after that, it seemed like every issue we could have, like, it was like a snowball. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger till it got to that defining moment that I told y'all about. So the next incident, we went out of town, and it's like a family weekend. And again, it was a fun weekend, but because I made the decision to stay in a marriage that I already knew was, like, starting off wrong, based on what happened during engagement, I always had that thought in the back of my mind, like, is there something I don't know? Should I be checking something? Like, what's going on? So we went out of town for this family weekend. We're not even a month after the wedding. And I just remember feeling so uneasy. Like, I could not enjoy myself the way I wanted to. And every day I just woke up with the thought of, is this going to be my life? How long does this feeling last? How long will I keep thinking that something's not right? And I didn't like how that felt. I don't think anyone would like how that feels, especially if it's like, this is supposed to be the love of your life. This is your partner. So I remember, y'all, this was disclaimer here. I don't go through phones. But on that family weekend, that was the first time I ever went through a man's phone. And I looked in that phone. And what I saw, I was like, okay, let's do some math. Let's look at the dates. Let's see, because, I remember thinking, we're freshly married, like newly married. But I was seeing things in there that I'll say were unaccounted for based on the information I already had. So now it felt like, okay, this is another strike on the board. Like, now it's 2 incidents that I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I proceed, And at this point, I think it was like a numb feeling. Of course, I'm feeling it, but I just started to feel numb where it's like I'm kind of just existing in this relationship and I'm not actually enjoying it. I was doing my best. I had a new job. I was working like crazy. I'm trying to show up. I'm like cooking dinner and doing things that, quite frankly, I don't like to do all that stuff. But it's like, that's what I grew up seeing. And if I care about this individual the way I did, of course, based on scheduling, I'm gonna make sure we eat, make sure things are tidy, whatever. Like, I'm not gonna say these are wifely duties because I do feel like you do what's best for your household, but based on our different careers, it just worked out that way. So I felt like, okay, cool. I'm doing the things that I should do to nurture the home as best as I can with the information I have. Knowing how I feel about this relationship, I'm still showing up. And it was not fulfilling at all. I was not having a good time. So, I kept going through things, like going through the motions. At the time, my sister, she was engaged. So, she's planning her wedding too. And I obviously was the matron of honor. So like I'm helping her with these things. And with that, it was just so much on my plate, yet I had this emotional weight on me that I was carrying along. So going through the motions, a few months go by. And within those few months, y'all, it was literally like one thing after the next where I checked the phone again, saw some things I didn't like. Our marriage counselor dumped us because he felt like I'm not going to meet with a couple where one individual wants to meet and the other one is only showing up because of that, which totally understandable. Like, I don't disagree with that. I think that's great. That's your practice. You run it how you want. But it felt like now we're losing the one little bit of support that we have because, again, I'm going through all this, knowing what's going on in my marriage, and nobody knows except my personal therapist and our joint therapist. So carrying that weight was just like a headache. I was starting to have panic attacks. I didn't even know what panic attacks were. The symptoms I was having, I ain't gonna lie, I thought I was dying. Like, I was waking up in the middle of the night, chest tight. I already have asthma. I'm like, this ain't an asthma attack though, because I'm taking my inhaler and nothing's working. So it was just a lot going on. I'm on Google, wrong thing to do, but I'm Googling symptoms like, am I about to die? Am I having a heart attack? Am I having a stroke? I don't really know what's going on. And so that type of stuff was happening. And so I just remember leading up to that defining moment, though, I had a dream. And I was having lots of dreams, nightmares, quite frankly. But God speaks to me through dreams. And that's me. Like, he may speak to y'all through dreams. I don't know. He speaks to people different ways. But for me, it's dreams. And I remember I was out of town one weekend and I had a dream. And I just remember in that dream, someone that I know and love and trust told me, let him go. I didn't even see the person. I just could like feel their presence in the dream. And that person told me, let him go. Automatically, I knew, I'm like, they talk about my husband, but like, okay. Although I already knew everything I knew and what was going on, all the things. But even in that same dream, and I've actually told probably just like a handful of people this, so I can't even believe I'm telling y'all, but y'all should know. But I just remember later in the dream, I'm sitting in a room. It was like a dark room. And I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with reflexology, but look it up. It's a great, I'll say like a very fancy foot massage, but very therapeutic. But I was sitting in like a reflexology room in the dream, and I was actually washing someone's feet, which they usually do that when you're getting reflexology. So I was washing a man's feet, and the lady came in the room and she told me, she said, let me show you how to properly wash your husband's feet. So of course in the dream, I'm just like, okay. But I looked up to see who the husband was, and it wasn't my current husband. It was just like a completely different person. And I literally woke up out of my sleep at like 4 or 5 in the morning. I'm out of town on a trip. And I just sat there like, hold on. If you saying like, that's my husband, but it's not the one I'm actually married to, and in the same dream, someone's telling me, let him go, it's God. Because with all the dreams that led up to that one, I'm putting pieces together like, oh, shoot. Okay, the signs are they are loud. So it was from that dream, I had so much peace after the fact where I knew like, okay, there's going to come a day where I know for sure this is the moment that I have to make the decision to leave this relationship. And I just trusted God at that point, because beforehand I was kind of trying to control everything. But I said, there's going to come a day where I literally have to make that decision. And I knew it would be very clear. And so all roads led to that defining moment when I checked that watch and saw what I saw in that watch. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is that moment. Gotta go. And without too many details, I hope that gives y'all like some insight on how I got here. I will candidly say, as far as I know, between engagement and marriage, there were 2 physical encounters where I'm like, okay, infidelity. The rest of what I had experienced, again, as far as I know, was just, like messaging and just, which is still wrong, but like messages and whatever else, which, I want people to know it doesn't matter if it's physical or if it's texting or inappropriate things via text or whatever. It's all wrong and it all hurts the same. And of course, some people probably thinking like, well, if it's physical, like there's a lot that comes with that. But again, knowing that the person you love and supposedly trust, or at least trust until that moment, knowing that they would betray you like that, it all sucks. Like, even if you just see them texting somebody else, it's kind of like, what's the point, So, be mindful. Definitely be mindful, when you're in a relationship or with someone that you love and claim that you care for. Always be mindful of how you're interacting with others, because again, it all hurts the same. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter like what it is. You can't say, well, this is worse than that. No, it's all bad. So don't do any of that. So I hope that gives y'all some insight on like how I got here. I'm going to go to the phone now. I have another question to follow up. So how did my family and friends react to both the marriage and the divorce? I'm going to be honest. I don't know. They seemed excited about the marriage. As far as I can remember, like, so me getting engaged, they were excited. I guess I never fully asked their thoughts, like in the engagement process of like, what did y'all think when y'all found out? I think I just received their reactions in real time. And everybody seemed excited. They were happy for me because they know that marriage was a goal or like something I wanted. And I was excited to kind of explore that next chapter of being a wife, But aside from that, I don't think anyone had any thoughts of like, this won't work out or this might be a bad idea. And if they did not tell me. And also if they did, I just don't know where it would have stemmed from. So I think everybody was, for the most part, excited. But what I can say is leading up to getting married, leading up to the wedding, I remember my Bachelorette trip. Oh, God. Shout out to the batch crew, because we had a good time in Mexico. But a couple people picked up on the fact that something was not right. And that's because that initial time where I realized there had been some infidelity in the relationship, that came 2 months before my Bachelorette trip. So imagine I'm on this Bachelorette trip with a group of my closest friends. I think it was like 9 of us. And I already know, like, okay, my fiance stepped out. And also, I'm going to try to make this work. But nobody knows except my therapist. So a few of them picked up on it. I won't say, because I feel like more of them picked up on it than not, but most didn't want to say anything or ask. But there were a couple of them that did kind of pull me to the side, like, hey, you just seem a little off. Mind you, we're having a blast in Cabo. I love Cabo. Like, Cabo, if you've not been to Cabo, it's such a beautiful place. And I think out of the places I have visited in Mexico, because I've been to quite a few cities, it's probably my favorite. But, we're in Cabo, we're having a time. I'm with my girls. It's a blast. But they picked up on it. And one specific friend, she just read right through it. She told me, look, we're first night there. She's like, something is not right. And if you want to talk about it, I'm here. And if you don't want to talk about it, cool. But you're on this trip with your girls. Just know that we support you. We're here for you. If you need to talk, we can do that. And I looked her dead in her eye and said, Oh, no, I'm fine. All my friends know I am a terrible liar, like really bad. I'm not good at it. And I think that's a good thing. I'm glad I'm not a good liar because my ex was the good one. But like, I'm not. So like you telling me I'm looking crazy and I'm not looking excited to be here the whole time, to me, I thought I was, but I guess I was not. So, you know, they knew something was wrong, but I just refused to talk about it because I'm like, it has taken so much power over me up until this point. I'm going to enjoy Mexico. So they were on to me. I couldn't bring myself to mention it because I felt like if you're going to work this relationship out or at least attempt to, it's nobody's business what you're going through right now. You better figure it out with your therapist and your man and get through it. And that's what it was. But, you know, with that, when I did finally come to the point of separation, I was quiet. I went dark. I think on one of the social media platforms, I literally just like deactivated my account for a whole year. And it was just, I mean, of course you could just like avoid posting or, you know, whatever, avoid interacting. But I literally had to like be out of sight, out of mind, because I'm like, if I see this, it was really like seeing people sharing accomplishments or just like their joys. It was so hard for me to look at. So I'm like, I can't look at this. I gotta go. I got off social media. One of the platforms I was on there, but I was hardly posting. I just was like looking, lurking. I might respond to people's stories or whatever. But I really just went dark. I decided I gotta work on me. But I also I didn't have the urge to do anything. I just wanted to be alone in the shadows, to the point where I kind of just didn't really talk to too many of my friends. I had told a couple of my best friends. I told, obviously, my sister, my parents. But aside from that little group of people, I just didn't talk to anybody. Some of my best friends would check on me and be like, yo, like, you good? We ain't heard from you. You straight? So I kind of went dark. By the time I got to a place to actually talk to people, like my friends and family, about the fact that I was separated and headed towards a divorce, it was shocking, I think, to a lot of people. But once I told them why, that's when they were like, oh, okay. Like that news was received well because they understood why I made that decision. And so with that, I realized, okay, this is not a problem. I shouldn't have any shame about it because I didn't do anything wrong. And I put that in air quotes because it's like, I don't think anybody's perfect. And if he told his side of the story, there might be things that may have led him to do what he did. I don't know. But I didn't do anything that would necessarily jeopardize the relationship. And so for that, it's like, I didn't do anything wrong. And yet I ended up in this situation and I decided to do something about it, which was leave. And so, yeah, when I told them this is what I'm doing, they all told me they were proud of me. Every single one was like, yes. And that's men and women. Like all of my friends, my family, they were excited for me to take charge and really make a decision that is going to benefit me in the long run and not stay somewhere for the sake of saving face or feeling like I have to just make this work. Because we all know sometimes that generation, a few generations before us, they're just staying something just to do it. And granted, times were different. So sometimes they needed that extra support. Like they didn't have a choice. They had to stay in something they didn't want to be in for the sake of having a sustainable lifestyle. However, this is not that. It's giving Destiny's Child, independent woman, like, I'm out. I could fend for myself. I have a career. I'm good. I'm straight. I got family, friends. I have a support system. I do not need you. I wanted to be there, but not with that foolishness. So, you know, the divorce news was shocking, I think, to some people. But again, some people came back around like, well, I remember this and now it makes sense because I'm putting two and two together and you weren't yourself. You didn't seem happy. You seemed a little, and it was like, they doing math now. Okay, congratulations, you can do algebra. But we got ourselves out, and everybody at the end of the day was just glad that I did not allow it to overtake me, because when I tell you the mental health, it was mental healthing. It was going down. It was going down like bad. But again, God and therapy, friends and family, support system. So hearing them say they were proud of me for making that decision to leave a toxic and unhealthy situation, it meant so much. I'm like, okay, we're moving in the right direction. We're doing the right thing. We're doing exactly what we should be doing, even though it was daunting. Like, I want to be clear. Just because you know a situation is bad and you make the decision to leave, it's not an easy decision. Like, it still sucks. It still hurts. You're still sad, depressed, all the feelings and all the things. So never think that just because it's like, oh, well, he cheated, so you left, you should have. Well, yes, but it still hurt the same. Like, it sucked because I'm like, dang. One, I was embarrassed initially because I'm like, I got married, although I never posted the pictures. To this day, no one has seen those pictures. But it's like, it's embarrassing. And especially in the social media age, once you share stuff, you kind of open yourself up to the world, and it's like, well, where's the pictures? Where's the stuff? Where's the proof? And so I did feel some type of way. But even aside from that, it was just like I had high hopes for this. And it made me question my discernment, because I'm like, did I miss something here? Was I not tapped in with God? I know, like, I just had all these questions. But it's like, no, I'm not going to blame myself. It happens, And again, I have mentioned this in previous episodes. Some people are just that good at pulling the wool over your eyes, or they're just that good at showing up as something that they're not. You never know. So none of us are exempt from adversity, and especially in this sense. The divorce rate is up, especially amongst our generation. It is up. So, I had to tell myself, like, don't feel bad. Do not blame yourself. It happened. And now we're going to look for that silver lining, and we're going to see how we can move forward. And look at me now. This is how I ended up here talking to y'all about it. And y'all are watching and tuning in, and I appreciate it. So, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but I do think it was purposeful for me to get here. So, shout out to my friends and family for supporting me and, making sure I knew that y'all were proud of me. Because that support did not go unnoticed. I know it seems cliche, looks, oh, I'm proud of you for making it. You're so brave and courageous. I needed to hear those words every single time. And y'all still be telling me to this day, like, we're so proud of you. And I genuinely appreciate it because it was really hard. Like, it was one of the hardest times of my life. And I made it to the other side now. And I'm like, wow, I probably should have left that relationship sooner. But either way, glad we got there, Okay, so we're going to get into question 3, which should be the last one. So what were the biggest lessons that I took from the entire experience? And, I don't think I've ever really been asked that question, but I will say that everyone deserves compassion and grace, no matter the circumstances. Like, even if they have betrayed you, I just think everyone deserves that, because having to show up in the world, going through a separation and divorce, and just, go to work and be normal or try to appear normal, I realized how hard that is. And it let me know that everybody's going through something that you don't know about and don't understand. And just because someone, quote unquote, wrongs you, they're going through something internally that you may not understand, because you may look at them and say, well, I would never do that, or I wouldn't make that decision. And it's like, okay, cool, that's fine. But because they did, they may be experiencing something internally that you don't understand and you may never understand. So I feel like giving them that grace to understand, like, there's room to grow. We always have room to grow. Being compassionate towards them does not mean you have to be with this person. That does not mean you have to be friends or whatever, but just extend that to them, because you don't understand. And so that was one of the biggest things I learned. And it was hard because there were times I was not that nice to him, after knowing what I knew, but it did not serve either of us well. It just created more chaos and more arguments, and it wasn't a healthy environment. So I would say that's one of the biggest lessons. The other lesson is you don't have to go through things alone. Like, obviously I talked to my therapist, but even going through the stuff I was experiencing, if I could have, hold on. Let's go say if I could have a do-over. God, I don't want one. So I'm not gonna say that. But something I would have done knowing what I know now, I would have talked to someone outside of my therapist. I definitely would have chosen wisely. I would have prayed about that one. But I would have still talked to somebody else, because even though I had my therapist and for a short amount of time we had a marriage counselor, it was the heaviest weight to carry. And I feel like it just would have been easier to carry if I actually had a trusted individual to talk to. Even if it was a best friend, I knew with what I was going through, it definitely could not have been a family member. That's for sure. Because they just would have been like, girl, leave the relationship. But for the time that I was trying to make it work, if I had like a best friend that I could have just said, look, we listen and we don't judge. If I could have had that, I would have just, and my friends they would have listened and not judged. But like, I just didn't feel like at the time I needed to talk to them. I felt like it wasn't their business. And again, it was not, but it would have served me well to have that other individual outside of my therapist to talk to. And so now I feel like I'm so transparent, even more transparent than I already was with my loved ones, where I'm like, wow, clearly I've learned to just be more vulnerable, it was hard for me. It was a struggle. If you know me, you know. And Brandy, if you're watching this, I know you're going to laugh, because you used to kind of laugh at me in college and say that I was really hard to get through to, when people were trying to get to know me. But I'm much more vulnerable now. I have no issue with going deep, because everything I went through, I'm like, I'd rather just talk this out. Let's lay it all out. Let's talk about it. Let's get through it. So that was one of my biggest lessons. Like, just have a safe person, like I mentioned in the previous episode, that you can just go deep with, be vulnerable and transparent. Again, we listen and we don't judge. So, now it's okay to lean on your friends and family. Safe people, even if it's one or two, that's a good thing. That means y'all have a healthy relationship with each other. So I wish everyone had that. But yeah, I think this is a good space to end, because I am like, woo, I can't believe I just told y'all all of that information. But I'm glad that I did, because now y'all kind of have a glimpse into what I experienced. I will say, with everything that was unfolded in the relationship, I don't even know if I worded that correctly. With everything that unfolded in the relationship, it was probably like a span of, I don't know, maybe 7, maybe like, I'll say 9 months. 9 months. So just imagine all these instances happening in a span of 9 months, and then getting to a point of like, I gotta leave, I gotta dip. And within that 9 months, part of it we were engaged, and then the other part we were married. But I gotta be honest with y'all, we were only married for a few months in the home, before I decided like, I gotta go. So short time frame, a lot of mess going on. And me, just a girl, trying to figure out like, what do I do? So I think this is a good space to end. I do look forward to the next episode, because while it won't be a part 2, it will kind of, continue this flow of just like letting y'all in a little more, because I think y'all deserve that. You've been on this journey with me now for a few episodes, so I feel like the least I can do is really tell you what happened in my life and why I even started this podcast. So again, I always appreciate y'all tuning in. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, please like it. Go follow us on all the socials at I Wish I Could Pod. Definitely share this with somebody. I mean, if you might not know if they could relate, I don't know, but just say, hey, I enjoyed this, and maybe you will too. And then lastly, if you haven't already, please, please, please subscribe, because it will mean the world. And I just want y'all to continue on this journey with me, because as I sit here and film this, I could tell y'all I've already started filming season 2. So you want to keep up and you want to tune in, because it's going to get really, really fun. So yeah, thanks for watching another episode, and I hope to see y'all next time.